Hello, Screamer, and welcome to Scream Stream, your weekly spoiler-free guide to horror entertainment. I'm James Gass. If you're new to the show, what I do is review a horror movie from one of the various streaming services, spoiler-free, of course. I also cover horror news, new releases of the week, and sometimes a video game or two. Scream Stream is available wherever podcasts are served, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many more. If you want to hear the original run of Scream Stream, head over to patreon.com/ScreamStream, and you listen to those every week for free. So this week I have been on spring break. Our campus is closed for the entire week, which is good for me because I got in a lot of movie watching, and there were quite a few things that I watched. And I was trying to pick something for this episode, and I decided to go with Ouija, Origin of Evil from Mike Flanagan. And some of the other things I've watched this week are Bad Ben, which is like a micro-budget horror film, like found footage kind of horror film on Amazon Prime. Apparently it's a trilogy. I do plan on watching the other two. I started watching The Wailing on Netflix, which is a Korean horror film. Really long movie. I haven't gotten all the way through it yet. I think I'm like just a little over halfway through it. So far it's pretty good. And then I also watched Phoenix Forgotten, which is another found footage film that came out last year. Actually had a theatrical release. I recommend that you skip that one. It just wasn't that great. Nothing really happened until the last 20 minutes, and that's really frustrating because you have like an hour of build up, and then finally you get something, which was pretty uneventful in itself. So, skip over Phoenix Forgotten. Not that great. But let's get into this week's review. And as I mentioned, is Ouija, Origin of Evil. This was written by Mike Flanagan and his partner Jeff Howard. I believe all the films they've worked on, or that Mike Flanagan has directed, they write them together. So it was also directed by Mike Flanagan. And this stars Elizabeth Reaser, Lulu Wilson, and Annalise Basso. And for a brief plot synopsis, in 1967, Los Angeles, a widowed mother and her daughters add a new stunt to bolster their seance scam business, inviting an evil presence into their home. So the basic gist of this is prequel to the film Ouija, which came out in 2014. I remember watching that film. My wife and I watched it, and it was okay. Not that great. It got a lot of negative reviews. I remember some parts being a little scary, and the rest of it just wasn't that great. But I heard a lot of great things about this one. So the basic story is this woman is widowed, and she has her two daughters who live with her. And to make ends meet, she holds seances for people in the neighborhood, and she charges for them. And she decided that she needed to up her game a little bit, so she bought a Ouija board after she caught her daughter playing with one. She decided to kind of, use this thing to maybe add a little more flair to her seances. When she does that, though, her youngest daughter, Doris, becomes possessed, and a lot of weird stuff starts to happen. And of course, the mother doesn't really notice anything, but the sister Alice is trying to, or the sister Lena is trying to convince her of what's going on. And not to kind of spoil Ouija for you, but this is sort of the backstory to that film. This is the origin story, I guess, if you want to call it that. So they spend the film trying to find out what this presence is, where it came from, how to get rid of it, things like that. And then this also stars Henry Thomas, who I know him from E.T. and all the great 80s. He's an excellent 80s child actor, and he played Father Tom in this one. He did a great job. He didn't have a whole lot of screen time, but the little bit that he did have, he was really good. I enjoyed his performance a lot. And overall, I enjoyed everyone else's performances as well. I think they all did a great job. Direction was really good. And the cinematography in this was great. There's a lot of just really nice shots. The set design is excellent. There's a nice claustrophobic feel in the basement, in the basement scenes. I do want to say, however, or just to kind of add on to this, Lulu Wilson, when she is taken over by this presence thing, is like the creepiest character I believe I've ever seen. And there's a scene where she talks to the boyfriend, where she talks to Lena's boyfriend and says some of the most off-the-wall stuff, and it is super creepy. But back to the cinematography and the set design, really good job there. But yeah, just great cinematography. I like the look of the film. Color, nice use of color. Let's talk about the film itself. Is it scary? Not really. I mean, it wasn't really scary, but it did have some excellent creepy moments in it. There were a couple of jump scares, not too many. I've noticed that Mike Flanagan doesn't really rely heavily on jump scares. And when I watch films like this, or when I was watching this one, I kind of realized I do miss jump scares when they're not there. I kind of, because while it is creepy and it's suspenseful, I'm not scared. So I would like to have a few more jump scares added in just to kind of get my blood going and pick me back up, because I did find myself missing those a little bit. So overall, I thought the movie was good. I think it could have been a bit scarier, but being a fan of Mike Flanagan's work, I do recommend that you check it out. As for rating, I would probably give this like a 3.8. Definitely good. Could have been a little better as far as just the scare factor. So yeah, definitely check it out. It's available on HBO Go. And a funny thing, we paid for HBO Now for like a year, and then I actually realized it was included with my cable. And when I set up our cable when we first moved to South Florida, I thought they were going to give us like a free month of HBO, but HBO is actually included in our package, so we paid for it twice. But yeah, it is on HBO Go or HBO Now. If you don't have HBO, there's actually a few good horror films on there right now. If you're only a horror movie watcher, I don't know if it's really worth it. But they do have other great films on there, non-horror films. I like HBO, and I like the HBO Now. They've got some good stuff on there, including this one. So definitely go and check it out. I know you can rent it on Amazon for like $2.99 for the standard definition version, or like $3.99 for HD. It's definitely worth a rental. I would say that. So there you go. Let's move into new releases, because there's not a whole lot in news that I really wanted to talk about. I saw a couple things here and there, but nothing like really worth talking about. I saw that they released a teaser for the Scooby-Doo and Supernatural crossover. Oh boy, I don't know what to say about that. I think it's kind of time for them to end that show. I watched the first 2 seasons, and after that, it just got super goofy, and I quit. I was out. I also saw, they did release The Strangers. Fear Factory did a special collector's edition. If you haven't seen that movie, buy the Blu-ray. It's totally worth it. I'm trying to get my wife to watch it so that we can go and see the sequel in the theater. Definitely worth watching that movie if you haven't seen The Strangers. I saw also that Blumhouse had bought a script called The Invasion, which is about a home invasion that takes place during an alien invasion. Where are we going in this genre? I feel like there was a group of people sitting in a room and said, okay, what can we do now with home invasion movies? Because The Purge is making a lot of money. That series is making money. I don't know why it's still making money, but I feel like they thought, how can we take this to the next level? No, like next level. Oh, I know. Let's throw in aliens. And there's a movie. Oh boy. Jesus. Goosebumps 2 Shooting begins. They have a working title now. The official title, I guess, semi-official, is Slappy Halloween. Really? Oh boy. Okay. I don't know what it's about yet. We don't know, but it is shooting, and I did watch the first Goosebumps, and it was a really good movie. I enjoyed it a lot. If you haven't seen it, do check that out as well. And those were the only things that I really saw worth even just mentioning in the news. Ash vs. Evil Dead is out, or has been out for a few weeks. I don't have Stars anymore. I think what we're going to do is wait until American Gods comes back on, and then get Stars. Get the Stars app or what monthly subscription thing, and kind of watch both of those at the same time, and then just cancel Stars, because that's the way we do it. All right, let's get into new streaming releases as of March the 7th up until today. On Netflix, we have The Descent 1 and 2, which was also released to Shudder as well. And then a new Netflix original called Ravenous. And this looks like an infected type film. I don't know if it's zombies. I don't think it's zombies, but it's more like infected, kind of like 28 Days Later. That looks interesting. I think it's a French film. I might check it out. It's either French or German. I don't remember. And then Nails was released today, and I do want to see that. I don't remember where I first heard about that, but I know it looked interesting. I watched the trailer, so I do want to check that one out. On Shudder, we have The Haunting of Julia, The Secret Window with Johnny Depp. That was a good film. Bram Stoker's Dracula, and Jawbreaker. Never saw that. Don't know why it's on a horror. Don't know why it's on Shudder. I don't think it's horror. I don't know. And then on Amazon, some of the few things that I saw that was worth mentioning, because there's a lot of like crazy stuff that gets thrown up on Amazon. If you are an independent filmmaker, you can put your stuff up there. But we have Unearthly, Weekend Murders, and this is like from 1978 or 79. The Darkest, The Chosen, Killing Spree from 1987. I think I remember watching this when I was a kid. The Woman in Black 2, and We Are Not Cats. This looks really weird, really bizarre, and actually kind of interesting. And I've heard some good things about it. So there is your weekly new to stream films. Go and check those out. Let me know what you thought. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Scream Stream. If you'd like to keep up with me outside of the podcast, you can do so at screampod.com, where you can find links to all of my social profiles. Subscribe to the podcast via your favorite podcatcher and get the show notes for each episode. Also, I have a YouTube channel where I kind of just, it's a lot of non-horror stuff where I talk about gaming and other stuff that I'm interested in. It's more like a vlogging channel, and you can check that out over at youtube.com/JamesGass. If you have a movie you'd like me to review, hit me up on Twitter. Go to screampod.com/contact. If there's a movie that you think I'd like to, or that I would enjoy, or that you want to hear my thoughts on, let me know, and I will definitely mention you in that episode as well. And remember, you can subscribe to the show in Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever podcasts are served. You can get this show. And until next week, I'm James Gass saying, if it was real, the cameraman would be dead too. Good night.